I came across this guy, owns his house, good career, goes to the gym, and he said dating apps sent him to therapy. Not a breakup, not rejection. The apps themselves broke him, and he's not alone. Men are walking away from dating in 2026. Not the young guys living in mum's basement. Men in their 40s, 50s, and even 60s. Men with assets, careers, experience. Men who did everything right. They looked at the game and said, I'm out. There are 5 reasons why. And by the end of this, you're going to understand every single one, because you've probably felt most of them yourself. His name's Marcus. Found his story on a Reddit dating forum. So Marcus does what everyone tells you to do. Gets on the apps. Bumble, Hinge, Match. Even threw money at eHarmony because maybe the paid ones filter out the nonsense, right? Maybe that's where the serious people are. He spent months building his profile, got good photos, wrote an honest bio that showed some personality, nothing weird or desperate. And here's the thing, he actually put in effort, which most guys don't. He sent hundreds of messages, not the copy-paste hey beautiful garbage that women rightfully ignore, thoughtful openers that reference something specific in her profile, asked real questions, showed he actually read what she wrote. The kind of messages that take 5 minutes to craft when you could just swipe and move on. You know how often he got a response? Once every 3 or 4 months. Let me say that again so it really lands. House paid off, career locked in, physically fit. Heard back from a woman once a quarter, like he was waiting on a damn earnings report. Checking his phone thinking maybe this time the numbers look better. His exact words, it killed my self-esteem so bad I went to therapy. I had such awful luck getting any matches that it made me extremely self-conscious about my looks. Think about that, a successful, put-together, mentally healthy man in his mid-30s, and the dating apps convinced him he was defective, that he was invisible, that nobody wanted what he was offering. Here's why that happened, and I promise you it's not because Marcus did anything wrong. The average man on a dating app has a 0.6% match rate, not 6%, 0.6. Less than 1 in 100 swipes turns into a match. Women? They sit around 10%. So a woman is getting roughly 17 times more matches than a man. 17 times. Put it another way, a guy needs to swipe right on about 38 women to get 1 single match. 1. A woman needs to swipe on 3. Men are out here playing the lottery while women browse a catalog. You're competing against mathematically impossible odds, paying $25 a month for premium features that don't change anything fundamental, boosting your profile for $7, hoping this time the algorithm decides to show you to actual humans. And that one match the guy finally gets after 38 swipes, she might not respond because she's got 50 other conversations going. She might have matched by accident while swiping half asleep. She might have deleted the app 2 weeks ago and forgot to tell Hinge she's not coming back. Here's what nobody wants to say out loud. The game is rigged because rigged games make money. Match Group, the company that owns Tinder, Hinge, Plenty of Fish and Match.com, made $4 billion last year. Billion with a B. And here's the dirty secret of their business model. They don't make money when you find someone. They make money when you don't. When you keep swiping, keep subscribing, keep paying for boosts and super likes that promise visibility you'll never actually get. You're not the customer, you're the product. The apps aren't failing you, they're using you exactly as designed. No wonder 53% of single men report being completely burned out on dating apps. The only surprising thing is that nearly half are still trying. Let's talk about something men almost never bring up on dates and barely discuss with each other. Money. What this whole thing actually costs when you add it all up. You ever sit down and really calculate it? Not some vague, yeah, it's expensive feeling, but actually pulling up your bank statements and doing the math on a year of your life. One guy did exactly that. His name's Ben, and Business Insider actually covered his story. He decided to track everything for 12 months. Every app subscription, every dinner at restaurants where you can barely hear each other, every round of drinks at bars playing music too loud for actual conversation, the grooming stuff that adds up, haircuts more often, maybe some new clothes because you can't wear the same 3 shirts to every first date, the Ubers because you want to have a drink without worrying about driving home. His total after a full year of active dating? Somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000. And after spending almost $2,000, know what Ben had to show for it? Nothing. No relationship, no girlfriend, not even a situationship. Just a phone full of dead conversations and a stack of receipts for meals he barely remembers eating. Here's the thing, Ben's actually on the low end. The national average is worse. Studies show men spend around $2,300 a year on dating. That's about $190 a month going out the door. And when you break down the all-in cost of a single date, dinner, drinks, transportation, parking, or Uber, the activity if you're doing something besides food, you're looking at about $170 per date, with someone you might literally never see or hear from again. Stop and think about what else that money could do. That's a vacation you're not taking. That's an investment account compounding for decades. That's actual freedom. Instead, it's subsidizing dinners with strangers who are texting 2 other guys while you're in the bathroom, wondering if this is going anywhere. Look, I need to be clear about something. I'm not saying never spend money on a woman. That's not the point. If you're building something real with someone, if there's genuine connection and mutual investment, that's worth paying for. That's not an expense, that's a deposit in something that matters. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a modern dating market where you're expected to pay just to audition, over and over, dinner after dinner, with no guarantee of a callback, no indication she's actually interested, no reciprocity whatsoever. You're not dating, you're funding someone's social calendar and hoping she picks you. There's a term gaining traction right now called financial celibacy. Sounds dramatic, I know, but it means exactly what you'd think. Guys who've decided to spend zero on dating, not because they're broke or cheap, but because they looked at the return on investment and made a rational decision. This is a bad deal. 53% of Gen Z men are spending nothing on dates right now. Not a little, nothing. And honestly, that's not bitterness talking. That's pattern recognition. They watched guys 10 and 20 years older burn through money trying to impress women who weren't impressed. And they said, not my turn to learn that lesson the hard way. Meanwhile, and this is where it gets ridiculous, surveys show women increasingly expect men to earn 6 figures, $110,000 minimum just to qualify, just to make the roster, while also expecting him to pay for everything in an era where she might be out earning him. That math doesn't work for me, and clearly it's not working for a lot of men. But here's what I need you to understand. The money part is actually the easy problem to see. You can check your bank account and know something's off. The numbers are right there in black and white. The harder thing, the thing that actually breaks guys, isn't about dollars at all. It goes deeper than that. I read something a while back that I genuinely haven't been able to shake. It pops into my head at random times. Driving, trying to fall asleep in the middle of something completely unrelated. It was from a guy on a Reddit forum for divorced men. He wasn't ranting or throwing blame around. He just sounded tired. Bone tired. The kind of exhausted that sleep doesn't fix. He wrote, "I would have happily given my life for my wife. That's not exaggeration. I worked myself into complete burnout trying to make her happy. Took extra shifts, skipped things I wanted to do, showed up every single day even when I had nothing left. And yet the exact moment I needed some support myself, she was gone." Then he said 5 words that hit me like a truck. "I'm tired, boss." If you've ever seen The Green Mile, you know that reference. It's a man who's just done, exhausted by the weight of everything he's been carrying, ready for it to be over. That's not a bitter man. That's not someone who hates women or blames the world. That's a man who gave every single thing he had and got left behind the exact moment he needed something back. And now he's supposed to what? Get on Hinge? Start the whole process over with someone new? Open himself up again? He's not alone. Not even close. Here's a stat that should genuinely scare you. 15% of men today report having 0 close friends. Not 1 or 2 they don't see often enough. 0. Nobody to call when things go sideways. That number has gone up 5 times since 1990. Think about what that means. An entire generation of men with nobody to talk to, nobody checking in on them, nobody to grab a beer with and say, "Hey man, you seem off lately, everything alright?" Just silence. And then we act confused when 34% of men report depression and anxiety, when men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women. Dating used to be something you actually looked forward to. You remember that, right? That nervous excitement getting ready for a first date, the butterflies driving to pick her up, the possibility that tonight could be the start of something real. When did that turn into a chore? When did meeting women start feeling like a second job nobody's paying you for and nobody appreciates? I'll tell you when the rules completely changed and nobody handed you the new playbook. A guy in his 50s today grew up in a world with clear expectations. You asked a woman out directly. You planned the date. You paid. You opened doors. You made the first move. That was the deal. Everybody understood it. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but at least you knew what you were supposed to do. Now, God help you. Half the women still want that traditional approach, and half think it's patronizing and outdated. Some want you to be confident and take charge. Others will call you a creep for the exact same behavior. You're supposed to be assertive but not aggressive, successful but not intimidating, emotionally available but not needy, sensitive but definitely not weak. Make the wrong read, miss a signal, and you're not just rejected. You might get labeled something that follows you around. So guys, freeze. They stop approaching entirely because they genuinely don't know what the rules are anymore. The rules depend completely on who you're talking to. And after enough rejection, enough ghosting, enough first dates that evaporate into nothing, enough situationships that were never actually going anywhere, the tank hits empty. You've got nothing left to give. You're not lazy, you're not scared, you're not the problem here, you're exhausted, and there's a damn big difference. If you've ever felt like you're running on fumes and nobody even notices, like you're giving and nobody's asking if you're okay, you're not alone. Millions of men feel exactly what you feel. So what happens when a guy finally hits that wall? When he looks in the mirror and says, "I'm done." One man found out in the coldest way possible, and it set him free. I want to tell you about a guy named Matt. His story ended up on BuzzFeed in a piece about divorced men. Married for years, thought he had a good thing going. Normal life, normal problems, the usual ups and downs that come with any long-term relationship. Nothing that seemed unfixable. Then one night, completely by accident, he stumbled onto something he was never supposed to see. He was on his wife's computer. Nothing suspicious, just needed to look something up, and his phone was dead. Her email was open in a browser tab, and there was a thread with a subject line that caught his eye. Something about it made him stop scrolling. What he found in those messages rearranged his entire understanding of his marriage. She had been planning to divorce him from almost the beginning. Not recently, not after things went bad, from the start. There were emails laying out the strategy, what to document, how to position things, how to maximize what she'd walk away with. Hidden bank accounts he never knew existed, conversations about assets. She'd even impersonated him in emails to move stocks without his knowledge. The whole marriage, or at least most of it, had been a long game, and he was the mark, not a husband, a mark. Here's what Matt wrote about that night. "I went for a long walk in the cold. The shock and tears gave way to an incredible sense of calm. The chances of us moving forward after this were very small." Read that again. After discovering his entire marriage was essentially a con, that the person he trusted most had been playing him for years, he felt calm. That's not a broken man. That's a man who finally understood what game he was actually in. All the little things that never quite added up over the years. The defensiveness about money, the secrecy, the gut feeling that something was off but you couldn't prove it, suddenly made perfect sense. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The clarity is almost peaceful. Matt's not some unlucky outlier with a uniquely terrible story. 30% of men today are single by choice. Not failing to find someone, not striking out over and over, choosing, deliberately, on purpose. And 57% of single men say they're content with being single, not settling for it, not coping with it, not white-knuckling through loneliness, content, at peace. These aren't losers who couldn't figure it out. These are guys who ran a cost-benefit analysis like they would with any major life decision, looked at the odds, and walked away from a bad deal. Same as you'd do with a sketchy investment or a business partnership with too much downside. When you've been through what Matt went through, or watched your best friend go through it, or your brother, or your dad, you start recognizing patterns. You see warning signs earlier, and signing up to try again starts feeling less like optimism and more like insanity. One guy in a Reddit forum put it bluntly: "Why would I tether myself to someone when the entire system is rigged against me? When the courts favor her, when the laws favor her, when I lose even if I did absolutely nothing wrong? Why would I sign up for that voluntarily?" He's not being paranoid, he's not being dramatic, he's being observant. Big difference. So men walk away. Some leave angry, sure, some leave sad, but the smart ones, they walk away with clarity, eyes open, head clear, and here's what they find waiting on the other side. All right, I've spent most of this video on the problems, the apps, the money pit, the emotional burnout, the betrayals. That's heavy stuff, I know. Might even feel hopeless if you're in the middle of it right now. But here's the thing. There's actually good news waiting on the other side of all this, and I'm not going to leave you hanging without it. Let me introduce you to two guys who figured something out. Something that changed everything for them. First one's 43 years old, found his story on a Reddit forum for guys dating over 40. Never been married, no kids, and for the last 3 years he's been living out of a backpack, riding his motorcycle across the United States and Canada. Stops wherever he wants, leaves when he's ready. Running in the mornings, lifting weights, reading books he never had time for when he was chasing relationships. Someone on the forum asked him how he copes with being single at his age, how he handles the loneliness, what his strategy is for getting through it. His answer stopped me cold. There is no coping. I live the life I want to live, and each day I endeavor to become the person I want to be. No coping. Let that really land for a second. This isn't a guy gritting his teeth and white-knuckling through loneliness. He's not distracting himself from some emptiness inside. He built a life so intentionally good that being single isn't a problem to solve. It's the whole point. It's the feature, not the bug. Second guy's 55. Different path, same destination. Found his post on X. He wrote, "As a 55-year-old single man, happily alone, not having to answer to anyone for my time. Alone gets lonely, sure, but then I think of the extreme lack of drama and get TF over it." I actually laughed out loud reading that because it's so damn honest. Yeah, sometimes Saturday night hits different when you're by yourself. Sometimes you wish you had someone to share something with, and then you remember what the alternative usually looks like. The arguments about nothing, walking on eggshells in your own home, the constant negotiation of who you are just to keep the peace, the financial vulnerability, the emotional labor that never gets acknowledged, and suddenly alone doesn't seem so bad. Alone starts to look a lot like freedom. Here's what I'm actually seeing happen in the real world, not just online forums. Men are taking all that energy, the time, the money, the emotional bandwidth they used to pour into chasing relationships, and investing it right back into themselves, getting in the best shape of their lives, finally starting that business they talked about for a decade, picking up hobbies they'd abandoned years ago, reconnecting with old friends they'd neglected, traveling to places they always wanted to see, actually enjoying their lives instead of performing happiness for someone else's benefit. And here's the beautiful irony. All that self-investment, it's making them more attractive than they've ever been. Better shape, more confident, more interesting, more financially secure. But now, they don't care about being attractive. That's not the goal anymore. A good life is, and they've got one. The dating landscape is shifting too. Offline is coming back in a big way. Singles events are up 15%. Hobby-based clubs and social groups are growing fast. Matchmaking, actual human beings who make introductions, is now a $4 billion industry, and climbing. The guys who win in 2026 aren't the ones swiping hardest on Hinge at midnight. They're the ones who stepped off the hamster wheel completely, built a life worth living on its own terms, and if someone comes along who genuinely makes that life better, great, welcome aboard. If not, they're still good, still whole, still at peace. One guy in his 50s summed it up better than I could in a forum post. "I stopped looking for happiness in someone else and started building it for myself. Best decision I ever made. That's not giving up. That's not bitterness. That's not some cope for being unable to find someone. That's freedom."